Am I saying that piano warm-ups are bad and pointless? No. Most people start their piano practice with warm-ups, either scales or Hanon or whatever exercises you use. In this video, I want to play devil's advocate by giving you a different perspective to think about. I'm going to make the case that dedicating time and energy to piano warm-ups actually creates less output for you from your practice session. You might be thinking, how is this even possible? Make sure you stick to the end to find out. After my explanations, I will also give you 3 bonus tips on how you can succeed in your piano practice without piano warm-ups. Before we get into why piano warm-ups may not be as necessary as you think, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel to stay in touch with more of these free piano lessons and tutorials. In this video, I'm going to advocate that you actually consider skipping the piano warm-ups and get straight to learning your pieces. Have you ever had the experience of practicing 60, 90 minutes? And as you're practicing this lengthy amount of time, as time goes on, you realize you have less and less output as the time goes on. You feel like you're not as mindful and your brain is not as receptive of information as it was when you just started. It's like you're just playing for the sake of playing without any real conscious thought into what you're doing. This is completely normal. Your brain is simply not going to be great at concentrating in the 84th minute versus the 5th minute. In these tired moments, I recommend you to rest your brain so that you can come back fresh and then get more work done when you're practicing. But this brings us to a really important point. In your practice sessions, you have a limited attention span and a concentration span. So when you first get to the piano, you have this much energy to concentrate and to get good work done. And as you keep practicing, your brain power sort of gets less and less over time. From my personal experience, the first 10 to 15 minutes of practice is when my brain is the freshest and the most receptive to information download. And because the first 10 to 15 minutes is when my brain is at its best, I should be dedicating this time for the most challenging and brain-intensive work, as opposed to something that's potentially brainless and repetitive. I started to realize the really powerful implications of understanding this concept when I was learning the Chopin E-flat Nocturne years ago. In the time that I was learning this beautiful nocturne, let's say in a day where I wanted to practice for 60 minutes. At that time, I would warm up for, let's say, around 10 minutes, and then later I would spend about 30 minutes to play through other pieces. So not the nocturne piece, I would play through things like, or for example, you know, these were pieces at that time I knew really well, and I could sort of just whip it out of my hands at any time. So I would spend about 30 minutes playing through the stuff I knew really well, and then only in the last 20 minutes of my practice sessions would I dedicate it to learning a new piece, which I knew was the most important thing I actually wanted to do in that practice session. So in the last 20 minutes of my practice session, I would try my best to learn the Nocturne in E-flat. And after doing this routine for a few days, so the warm-up and then the playing through pieces that I knew well, and then only dedicating the last bit to learning new notes, I realized I was getting nowhere. I didn't feel like I remembered the parts well. It was like I was practicing it, but nothing really was going into my brain. So I thought, why don't I try something? Why don't I try, instead of warming up and playing the pieces I know for about 40 minutes, why don't I just jump straight into doing the hardest thing I needed to do in that practice session right from the first minute? So instead of allocating my limited brain energy and time to focusing on things I already knew well, I now wanted to focus that limited brain energy and time into things that I knew was going to be the most challenging to do. And I put that right at the start of my practice just to test the results. And of course, voila, I made huge progress doing that. When I skipped playing the warm-ups and the pieces I knew well and got straight into what I really needed to do, which was to learn the new notes, I had huge gains over the next few days. This is something I really want you to try in your future practice sessions. Let's say you've given yourself a goal of learning a new piece. Try to begin your practice sessions with learning the new notes, as opposed to warming up. Dedicate those freshest brain cells to doing the hard things first. Congrats on making it to this part of the video so far. Here are 3 bonus tips I have for you on how to succeed in your piano practice without the warm-ups. Tip number 1, if you absolutely feel like you need to warm up, experiment limiting that to just about 2 to 3 minutes. When you sit down at the piano and you're starting to work, try and think about that you have a limited brain capacity to concentrate and get good work done. And as time goes by, let's say 60 minutes, okay, 50 minutes it's getting less, and 40 minutes is getting less, and it's sort of getting less and less, and as time goes by, it's hard to really get things in there and to have it retained in there. So really make sure it's at the start to dedicate most of that fresh brain cells to the hardest things, which is either to learn either new notes or to hone some technical parts that you wish to get better at. Tip number 2 are for people who live in colder climates especially, is if you ask me, Jaser, I cannot play piano without a warm-up because my hands are too cold and stiff. The tip I have for you is to either wash or soak your hands in warm water before you practice. I've tried this multiple times, so during autumn and winter when it's a bit colder, I just put my hands in a big bowl of warm water for about a minute. Feels nice, and then when it comes to the piano, I'm all warmed up and ready to get into any passages I need to get into. So I've played piano all my life and I've dealt with this problem a lot. When your hands are cold and stiff, you can't play anything. Over time, I realized that my hand's temperature is actually an indication of the temperature of the rest of my body. So if I want to keep my hands warm and ready to play piano, I have to keep the rest of my body warm. So go and put on more layers or some socks or something. And last tip for you today would be to take regular breaks. You can experiment not to practice for more than, let's say, around 45 minutes. As we were saying before earlier in this video, is your brain has a limited capacity to concentrate. So when you start the practice session, it's going to get less and less and less as time goes by. Experiment with having shorter sessions, taking a break so that your brain can reset into its full capacity before it then goes down again, and take a break to reset, and so on and so forth. Give your brain more opportunities to reset. Sometimes when I'm practicing piano, the simplest things can reset my brain. For example, even just getting up and drinking some water, or maybe I just get up and do, let's say, 10 squats or something, and I just look outside and look at the birds and the trees. Just simple things like that help me to reset, and I come back to the piano fresh, and suddenly I can do things much better. Another tricky thing to talk about here though is that when you are practicing for that 45 minutes, just make sure you are 1000% concentrating on everything that is happening. So that means the smartphone needs to be not near you. It needs to be locked in another room, and you want to try to not think about work or anything else, and just make this a really meditative and mindful experience. I want you to concentrate so much that maybe you don't even realize if there is a fire on the other side of your house. You're so in the zone, you're so in the flow that you don't see anything else. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but I think you understand the point I'm trying to make here. Make every session on the piano a really deep session. We have come to the end of this video. Do you think piano warm-ups are necessary, or do you think they're overrated? Let me know in the comments below. Catch you in the next video, guys.